find yourself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Newhoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani, not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
Say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. Is now Pike going to have a go at Werrell? Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still start trouble. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
On to the back end of Phil Jocelyn, so there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot have fun. Yeah, and it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching the Burger King machines off into the grass a little bit there as they're really bunching up now.
Does he have it? Medeiros is going to get it. Medeiros is going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still start chopper. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
It's a warm hello, good evening, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Sim Racing for Simpletons Formula 3 Championship. Tonight, we take to the penultimate round, and we take to one of California's best circuits. Of course, it's the WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. It's tight, it's twisty, it's difficult, and there is a very, very large lack of runoff. So these guys are going to have to be incredibly careful. It is myself, Zach Sweeney, James Parfitt alongside me in the commentary booth, talking you through all of the action here tonight. And, well, James, it must be said that Formula 3 machineries around Laguna Seca, it's not really a combination you'd expect. They're very fast cars with a very tight circuit.
Yeah, they are. I think that's the difference here as well, because obviously the corkscrew section, as we can see here with Mackenzie in qualifying currently at the moment, it brings a different dimension to it all, and that's the thing. It can be a very difficult circuit to get right. It's going to be incredibly hard coming up through turn 6 now and dropping up the hill as well onto the Rahal straight. It's just going to be overly difficult. This is a blind stop. As soon as they go over the top, they've got to get on the brakes, and then you're just pointing and hoping you make it through here without binning it at the bottom, to be honest. And then you've got the runs round at the 9 and 10 before you go through 11 onto the start finish straight. The problem is not when you're going on the circuit, Zach, it's when you're off the circuit. It doesn't lend itself to being able to control the car to come back on. It's almost like the gravel is no more different to the iRacing grass scenario that we can see quite happily.
Yes. Let it be said that these Formula 3 machines are not made for the Dakar Rally at all. They are not made to be off-road. So, yes, you very much got to keep it on the grey stuff and hope that you don't even dip a wheel into that gravel trap, because any small mistake around here is going to be devastating. But also not only the gravel, but as we saw going through into turn 3 and now into 4 as well, you can see them very ominous red blocks that are on the inside. In cars like these, you can kind of get away with it, maybe in MX-5s and GR86s with incredibly soft suspension. They can sort of rise and have that tolerance. In these Formula 3 open-wheel cars, the suspension is set up to be almost as stiff as possible. There's not really much tolerance. So if you touch onto them sausage curbs around here, chances are probably going to be quite deadly. Not necessarily giving you suspension damage, but certainly making the car unstable. So again, just an added challenge on top of the plentiful amounts that come with a circuit like Laguna Seca. But with all that considered, with the tight and twisty nature of it, I still think we are in for some good racing because of this run right here. At the final corner, on that run towards the Andretti hairpin, good amount of slipstream, a double apex hairpin, and a long straight in between. I still think that the racing here, despite the difficulty, will be pretty good.
Yeah, I think it will. And at the end of the day, you know, these cars have got to be careful, right? Them sausage curbs are basically rock solid. They don't go anywhere, but the only thing that will go somewhere will be your car. So they've got to try and stay off them as best they can. They've got to look at not accelerating on what is the curbs here as well, because otherwise you'll end up back end's going to go round, and there could be a whole heap of trouble for you at the same time. So it looks almost plain, it looks almost straightforward. You can just drive around here, turn a little bit here, but it isn't. You get that dip wrong, and that gravel trap on the right hand side is going to say thank you very much for that, welcome to the party, because that's how tricky it can be. And if they mess up this downhill braking here and coming down and dipping it in, again, the gravel on the right hand side is waiting for them. So these guys have got to really maximize the potential of these cars as best they can. They've got to get them hooked up. You cannot be coming in and not feel confident in what you've got underneath you. If you don't get confidence under what you've got, literally you'll be spinning more times than my child on a roundabout.
Right, okay. I do love you and your analogies, James.
Thanks,
you do come up with some awesome stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I'll leave it all awesome, I think. Yeah, okay.
Hold on a minute. God.
Because it's ineffable. There's not a word strong enough, so I have to leave it all awesome as to not milk it too much. I'll leave it with the awesome. There we go. Yeah, absolutely. That's my job saved. Anyway, at the moment they are into the 10-minute qualifying session. As we are into a replay, we can only get access to Mackenzie Roon, who has very kindly saved us the replay file, and he is demonstrating the driving style that you have to have around the circuit, like Laguna Seca. Look at his inputs going into this very fast left-hander. One turn at the steering wheel, one smooth, committed, confident, as you put it, turn of the steering wheel. And this is the trickiest bit, as you say, the uphill then downhill braking of the corkscrew. You've got to be absolutely on it. The dangerous bit, however, is not going into the corner where it's blind. It's actually coming out of the corner as you're going down, dipping down, because anyone that's been anywhere where there's undulation, as you go down the drop of a roller coaster, you can feel it in your stomach. You can feel yourself go light, and that's the same when it comes to Formula 3 cars. That dip there all the way goes to the front, all of it comes off the back, and it is so easy for you to just loop round on yourself like James's kid on a roundabout.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, the problem is these cars, where they're so low to the ground, going round that section, it will bottom out. It's going to bottom out because, you know, cars don't bend. They're not flexible. So when you're going down and you're coming into that bottom bit there, as we can see it on your screen, it literally dips and comes out. The car doesn't do that. It can bottom out and unfortunately unsettle the car. But welcome in, Phil, as always, into the YouTube chat. Mod Kiko, there you go. And obviously Brian from Sim Racer for Simpletons there as well. No, the Mick Barry was myself. I did wake my house up. I did get in serious trouble for that one as well, as I was screaming at the top of my lungs. And Mary as well, thank you so much for joining us. Much love, and thank you so much for coming in here as well. It's going to be an interesting one. 36 laps in Laguna Seca, one fast repair, and they get a point for pole position as well. So that's always good. 25 for the win, 22nd for second, and 19, 17, 15, 14. Championship is quite interesting after this race. I'm not going to show you what it is. We will have a look at the end of the race, because the championship is quite interesting going into the last race at Silverstone. It will be myself and Zach Sweeney here on Saturday as well. So be aware, you know, you're going to come in and you're going to watch Silverstone, and you're going to see some great racing and some great action from there as well, which will decide the championship, Zach. And I think, to be honest, you know, that's what we look for as commentators overall as well. The great action, great racing, respectful racing, no dramas.
Yes. Absolutely. Also, Phil, who do you think who do you both think will win? James can't answer that because he's done the standings and can see. I haven't, so I will throw a prediction out there. I think it's going to be Carson Keane that comes out on top. I'm going to throw it out there. So yeah, James obviously knows, so he's going to sit there nice and quietly and eagerly laugh at me if I get it wrong a little bit later on. But yeah, I really cannot wait for Silverstone. Of course, we're not even done with Laguna Seca from a broadcast perspective as of yet. But Silverstone, it's been one that I've been looking forward to all season long, to be fair. And that says a lot, because we've been to circuits like the Red Bull Ring, like Donington Park, Red Atlanta, Gilles Villeneuve, Cota, Zandvoort, Laguna Seca, and then Silverstone, obviously in a few days' time on Saturday. So many brilliant circuits, and it has amounted to a fantastic championship as well. I mean, all the way back at the Red Bull Ring, thinking back to that race and how amazing it was, each week has been a step well and truly in the right direction. And can you blame it? I mean, these Formula 3 cars are some of the most raceable cars on the service.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you've got to look at one thing, though. The only thing that I did see the other day, which was really quite bizarre, I've never seen it before in any broadcast whatsoever, is I was doing an F3 on Sunday, and two cars got linked together, crashed and spun, and then couldn't get apart from each other. They were literally hooked in together. Now, that alone I've never seen before in my life in iRacing either, but they managed to wiggle their way away from each other in the end. But it was quite a good 30-second bit of content that people were watching these two cars trying to separate from each other as well there. So yeah, an exciting one, these cars. I think you've got to be careful to a certain degree, but I think overall they should be able to race these side by side. The grid is up on your screen, young sir. Off you go.
Here we go. So it was our replay man, Mackenzie Roon, that took pole position. However, less than a 10th back is the Canadian. Carson Keane will join him on the front row with Michael Brooks and Modelese Kiko the second. Ian Patience, not patient at all in qualifying. He rounds off the top 5 with Daniel Whitfield keeping him company on the run in towards the Andretti hairpin. Lucas Finko, Seth MacFarlane making up the 4th row with Boyd Payne and Dominic Angelicchio the top 10. Carl Matheson, a very lonely 6th row there back in P11. A full pace lap before a rolling start. Heads us underway for 36 laps here in California. Of course, Laguna Seca is our venue for round 7 of the Sim Racing for Simpletons Formula 3 Championship. And coming on to this formation lap, James, obviously it's a little bit different with what we normally see in single-seaters. Obviously, it's almost exclusively at standing starts, and I think going forward they are going to employ standing starts. But we've gone for something vastly different for this season. A rolling start in a Formula 3 car. What it does mean is they have got a rolling lap. Using that rolling lap, how do you best prepare yourself for the race ahead?
Well, one of the things you want to realise is you've got time to get the brakes and tyres warm, right? So you'll be on and off, touching, getting rid of the squeak that we hear so familiar when we're inside of a car, and you'll be back and forwards, rolling, getting it warmed up. You've got to get the tyres warm on a rolling on a pace lap, because that's what it's there for, right? That's what you've got to use it for. You know, we're not just giving it to because we're friendly, we're giving it to give you a purpose of doing something. You know, it mixes it up. It's not rolling starts you often see in open wheelers. It is normally just dead starts, but it gives them the opportunity to warm everything up. And then, of course, in the meantime, you've got to sit there and calm them nerves, the driver nerves that kick in when you're on the front or you're in the middle and you're sitting there thinking, how am I going to take turn 1? Where are you going to be? One thing I will say is, once they get out of turn 10, they need to start really closing up, because after turn 10 the pace car goes in. So from Roon's point of view, he can bolt as soon as that car goes in. He can get out of turn 11 before anybody's really realised what's gone on, and he could be on his way. And if he's on his way, he's going to open up a gap, and it's going to be a struggle for everybody else to keep up. So from expecting just dropping out of 10, they need to start closing up onto the back of each other, because if they don't, and they don't stop Roon, they're going to be in trouble.
Absolutely, and I think it does all start here. Obviously, they say races can't be won on a first lap; they can definitely be lost. But also touching more on the one bit, you can't necessarily put the nail in the coffin and win the race on that one, but you can definitely put your best foot forward. And I think that is exactly what Mackenzie Roon has to do. He's got 2 corners before he will control the pace. The iRacing safety car will pull off to the left-hand side, and already Carson Keane showing his keenness to get already alongside the pole sitter. 2x2 Noah's Ark formation all the way to Angelicchio and Carl Matheson at the back of the field. They round out at turn 11, and it's now Roon's decision. When is he going to put his foot to the floor and send us underway for the penultimate round of the Sim Racing for Simpletons Formula 3 Championship? Look at the Gagler cars eagerly waiting for Roon to put his foot to the floor and run us towards the Andretti hairpin. And are we going to see any changes? Carson Keane looking daunting in the rearview mirror, goes for the move to the outside, and now looking to the inside goes Michael Brooks, gets the title line going through the double apex hairpin. They're now 2 abreast going in towards turn number 3. You can see Brooks trying to edge his way to the outside, but Carson Keane able to hold firm. Look out for that switchback though from Brooks. He might be able to get the overlap into turn 4.
Yeah, he definitely had a go, and that's the thing what we was on about with Roon. He made that start, he got out in front. Now he's left Keane and Brooks to say, well, you guys crack on at the moment. We can see Keane going through here as well. David Whitfield was also having a nice little battle with Kiko here, and they were battling it out as well off that start. They were swapping backwards and forwards, and it was Kiko that ended up losing out to Whitfield. And I think, was that Matheson going off the side of the circuit? It wasn't, it was Boyd Payne going off the side there. And again, Zach, that's what we were talking about. It's easily done at this circuit. You've got to get it hooked up, otherwise it's good night for Vienna, and he's now sat all the way at the back with about 2.8 second gap. Whitfield, however, making moves, trying to go, he's got Kiko behind him, and he's trying to push forward onto Patience as well. And one thing we will touch on is this man has done what we said he would do. If he flies out in front, he's going to open up the gap, and he has done to 1.6 seconds.
Perfect start, I think, for Mackenzie Roon and his advance for his first victory of the season up until this point. Let me just confirm that. Yeah, indeed so. Yeah, this would be his first victory if he was able to keep it all the way to the end. But that is a long time coming. Mackenzie Roon with the best launch possible. Michael Brooks and Carson Keane gave it a good go, but subsequently they were their own worst enemy. Fought too hard for second place. Mackenzie Roon took that opportunity with both hands and drove away. Exactly what he needed to do. I think holding that inside line off pole position, forcing Keane to the outside, allowing Brooks to have a sniff at the opportunity to the inside of the first braking zone. That really then allowed Roon to, at least for now, get some breathing space, which, while maybe Brooks and Keane can close up over the course of the race, this breathing room right now, just for Roon to settle into that rhythm, get himself mentally prepared, especially at a circuit like this, is going to be of vital importance if/when the rest catch up.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing at the moment. One of the things he wants to try and concentrate on, though, as well for Roon, is not only trying to extend the gap, which he is doing rapidly over sections 2 and 3, he is opening it up, and has opened up a massive 1.8 gap at the moment, near enough. But what he's got to try and do, he's got to try and keep it clean. He doesn't want to start making silly mistakes. He doesn't want to start making off tracks, things that can get him in trouble. You know, they've only got a 116. He's just gone across the line there with a 116.5. What he doesn't want to do is make mistakes, because if he starts pushing too hard, he's going to make mistakes. Tyre life is going to be important here as well. They've got to be looking at around about 28 to 32. It's going to start getting a little bit slippery, so they're going to have to be careful, and Roon has got to be careful here as we look at Whitfield, Patience and Kiko behind him. Kiko trying to close the gap down now on Whitfield. Where would you make the move, Zach? You're in the car, you're right out front, you've got Whitfield in front of you. Where are you going to go?
Not the corkscrew, I can tell you that much. Personally, in my own experience at Laguna Seca, there's not really many places that you can get it done, apart from really the Andretti hairpin at technically it's turn 2, the first braking zone. You can also have little looks if you can sort of set it up, but it does take preparation, it does take prior pressure, does even sometimes make a mistake. Even here, you can sometimes nip your way up the inside because the track is very wide and there's a lot of camber on the inside, and it's a very wide line initially you take in. So you can nip a car up the inside there. Also into this braking zone, it all depends on circumstance, how close you really are, how able and willing you are to go for that move. Because again, the car that's doing the attacking, Kiko in this case, or even at Whitfield on Patience, it takes a lot of trust to know where and when you can go for moves, where and when you can't go for moves. So it does depend on circumstance. But if you trust the driver and they trust you and the circumstance arise, you can do it anywhere on any circuit.
Yeah, but he's got to be definitive with it. He can't make this little half attempt. He can't have doubt. You know, what they say is, in the world of the land of the driving, is he who hesitates loses out. He can't do that. He's got to be looking at the situation overall with it, and he's got to be trying to deal with it there as well. And that's the thing. He's got to be careful, he's got to be consistent, and he's got to be patient with it. He's got to be trying to get through at a gap where it's not going to allow him to make the mistake. And no! There we go. Patience did it for him.
Yes. As we said, through the corkscrew, but what it has allowed is Modely's Kiko, she is able to now move away to the inside, or, well, a good attempt at the inside anyway. Ian Patience was able to hang on to the top 5, and when that mistakes happen, how do you recompose yourself as a driver? Because you've messed up. It's a circuit where you can't afford to mess up. It's a circuit where you can't afford to be in that wrong mental state for too long. Ian Patience, if he wants to still succeed in this race and still nail that top 5, how as a driver does he just wipe the slate clean and go again?
He's got to. He hasn't got a choice. He's got to sit back, think, okay, I've made the mistake. I've done an oopsie daisy, in your words, and he's got to be basically just take a big deep breath and go again. That's it. That's what he's got to try and do. It's always going to be difficult once you make a mistake to try and get it back, and that unfortunately is what Patience has got to try and do. He's just got to take a big deep breath, he's got to breathe, and he's got to go again. And he knows he's got the pace on Whitfield, he stayed in front of him. But now what he's got to try and do is now catch up to him. And that alone is a different thing altogether.
Yeah, absolutely. It is so tricky, even at a circuit like this, because you don't really have time. Oh my word, descend into the corkscrew from Kiko. That was a very good look. Ian Patience saw it coming though. A good effort, I'll be honest, that did catch me by surprise there from Kiko. She did go for a good old move there, but unfortunately wasn't quite good enough to go for it. Another mistake from Patience though, ducking and diving Patience. Oh my word, coming off the inside, Kiko looking for the gap. now trying to go for the up and under. And I do think the switchback at Laguna Seca is so powerful. We saw it on the opening lap with Brooks and Keane through turn 2 and into 3, then to 4. The switchback, if you can get that momentum around a circle like this, it will pay dividends.
Yeah, it definitely will. The problem is for Kiko there is Patience may have moved more than once there. Got to be looking at the fact that really you don't want to be moving more than once. That's it. Sweeps through, job done. Kiko is through, and now that is Patience again. What he doesn't want to do now is lose his position to Finko, because if he loses his position to Finko, he's then going to get into the realms of panic mode in the F3. I've lost 1 place, I've lost 2 places, I've made a mistake, I'm going down the order. He's got to try and settle back in that car as Mr. Patience, and if he doesn't, he could be in trouble.
Absolutely. It's like a stone in water, and once it starts sinking, it really does, all the way to rock bottom. So in Patience, he's got to find a way to float himself back to the top. I don't know, blow up some armbands or something in this metaphorical world where he just wipes the slate clean and is able to reascend himself back into contention with Kiko. But that is easier said than done, because Laguna Seca throws it at you thick and fast. You've got corner after corner after corner, and each one just as difficult as the last. There's no real breath of fresh air around Laguna Seca, because the longest straight is the pitch straight, and even then that's got a corner on it. And the whole time down it, you're thinking, where am I going to brake for the first braking zone? Where am I going to brake for here? How much track am I going to use? What apex am I going to use? Because while it does seem like a simple hairpin on the track map, going into it is so difficult, because do you just run it tight the whole way? Do you run a V shape? Do you hit the first apex, go in a bit, cut back for the second apex? Do you run it wide all the way around? So many different lines that you can take, because one small arrow is going to force you onto said line, but there's one that really does nail the corner, and these drivers have got to find that sweet balance, and to do that, they've got to nail each stage of the corner. But yeah, plenty still to digest in a race like this and a circuit like this as well. The gap at the front is the impatience once again.
Kiko's off. Dipped into 5. Zach dipped into 5 on the exit out of 6 and joined the gravel. Joined Mr. Boyd Payne, who had also made that move and gone into that same gravel. And I think Kiko did exactly the same thing there and off the side of the circuit. So there we go, coming out the exit of 5. Now Kiko's got to go again. But it's put Patience back in that position, a group of 3 there, Zach. So for Patience, he's now got to sit back and think, okay, I'm here now, what am I going to be able to do? And as I say, coming down into this corner, it's a different perspective altogether, because you're looking on the right-hand side for your braking marker. You're going to hit it just after the 3, and now he's started going in. What he didn't want to be careful of doing there is if Finko got up the inside of him and there was no way for him to turn. It's got to be definitive, it's got to be early, and you've got to make sure you can get it done. And that's what Patience is practically holding on to at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just such a difficult circuit, and we've said it so many times. We'll say it until we're purple in the face, because this circuit takes lives. Unfortunately, in the real world, actually, Laguna Seca, off that exit there through the long left-hander of turn 5, it's that they've repaved on the exit. They've put some nice, awesome concrete tarmac runoff on the exit. That is not Laguna Seca at all. It has received so much backlash as Lucas Finko has gone in wide. I think Kiko has gone for her textbip move to the inside, and fortunately it's not quite worked, and she's still... Actually, no, it has worked, because Lucas Finko has just been completely mugged. Kiko able to nip their way up the inside and up now back in the 6th place. But yeah, what do you think of that turn 5 repave? Because
I did see the pictures of it. I did see the pictures, and there was a lot of people saying, you know, where's Laguna gone? What's the situation? The problem is, as tracks get older, they need more work, and it might not be possible to achieve what they had done previously. Look at Spa. It now looks like a rainbow going up through El Rouge and Radion. You know, it was never looking like that before, and now we've got all these pretty colours going up the left-hand side. So tracks evolve, you know, progression. Can't be stuck in the 80s forever. It does need a little bit of a facelift every now and then. So I do get it. I get the point and the understanding of it, you know. But yeah, as we say, it doesn't always look right, but it is what it is. They've done it. Got to suck it up and move on, I'm afraid.
Nah, we'll just kick some gravel back over. It's fine. There's a strong enough motorsport community that hates change, and that is the main thing. Is the motorsport community does not like change whatsoever. As soon as we're comfortable with something, it's like, nope, this is ours. This is our precious thing. No one can touch it. But more on that, it's not Laguna Seca. This circuit is renowned because of how punishing it is. The margins for errors are so slim. You just whack some more concrete on there, drivers are going to be like, oh, sweet. Like they do on the exit of turn 11 here. They use so much that runoff purely because they can, purely because it's there. That's what you're going to have at turn 5. It's going to take so much of the challenge away from it, because the challenge of turn 5, fortunately, iRacing have not been able to re-laser scan Laguna Seca as of yet. But then again, they hadn't for Spa, or still haven't for Spa for ages. But the challenge of turn 5 is going into it and coming out of it, putting your foot to the floor as late as possible and running it to the exit as much as you can. Now people are just going to be like, oh, sweet, we've got an extra foot of runoff, blah, 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 bada bing, bada boom, sorted. Even with Eau Rouge and Radion, even though that has been extended to what they physically can, because it's in the middle of the Ardennes forest, there's cliffs everywhere, there's not really much that they can do. It's still challenging. It's still Eau Rouge and Radion. It still will chew you up and spit you out if you get it wrong. That's the side point. That's my Laguna Seca rant over. Checking in at the front, because Mackenzie Roon. Before I get myself worked up.
You're finished now, have you? You're finished spitting your dummy. Yeah. You're good? You sure?
Yeah, I've picked it up, I've cleaned it, I've put it back in, it's fine.
All right, good. Let's
Mackenzie Roon out in front. He is around about 2.5 seconds clear of Michael Brooks at the moment. In terms of their last lap time, Roon is able to extend the gap bit by bit, about 3 attempts on that last lap. His best lap time, which is the best of the race so far, a 1 minute 15.3, which is sensationally quick. We were both in the margin that they'd be around about in the 1 minute 18s, which a couple of people are, towards Carl Masson and Boyd Payne. Their best lap, a 1 minute 18.4 and a 1 minute 18.1 respectively. But 1 minute 15.3, that's absolutely insane pace. These Formula 3 cars are rapid around a circuit like this, and particularly Mackenzie Roon at the wheel of it in that 99 machine. He's got good grips of things, but don't ever get complacent at Laguna Seca. As soon as you feel like you're good, don't, because it will find a way to spit you out.
Well, as Elise has found out, going out of turn 6. And I can guarantee what happened there as well, right? I will literally be able to say, gone in, hit the bump, hit the sausage curb, right hand side, went on the gravel. That's it. That's literally how you end up out on that right hand side. You've gone in too early, dipped it, it's bottomed out, no grip coming out, straight onto the gravel and running up the gravel line. That's literally all you can do. That's probably what Boyd Payne done, that's what Elise has probably done as well. And that's how it works on that corner. It's such a difficult corner because of that dip. Now, don't get me wrong, Zach, if they come out and leveled that dip off and it just gave it a straight left turn, then people has got a right to kick up a fuss about it, because then you're taking away what is practically known as an iconic corner at Laguna Seca, because if you don't get it right, it's horrible. But if you get it right, God, does it feel good? Do you know what I mean? So if they come out and leveled that off, then people have got a right to kick up.
I don't think any racing series would take to Laguna Seca out of protest. They'd be like, nope, not touching it. It's not Laguna Seca anymore. Because again, you're taking away the spotlight of Laguna Seca. You're taking the jelly out of a peanut and butter jelly sandwich or whatever it is. You're taking out the big main good juicy thing. It's like taking Eau Rouge and Radion out of Spa. It's like taking Maggots and Beckett's out of Silverstone. It's the characteristic, it's the heart of the circuit, and it's an inanimate object. Obviously, I know purely it's a track. Don't want to get too sentimentally attached to it because they are subject to change. But as racing fans, you do get attached to it, as Kiko does make that sort of initial mistake of going in too deep, and thankfully she didn't make the subsequent consequences of messing up further. But as racing fans, you get attached, you fall in love with circuits, and you think, yeah, this is my favourite circuit. I love nailing that bit through there. That's where I'm good at. That's what's most fun about this circuit. And to take that away is literally to just grab the circuit by the heart and rip it out. So yeah, hopefully they won't ever touch the Corkscrew. Hopefully they won't ever touch Maggots and Beckett's, Eau Rouge and Radion, etc., etc. There's just no, don't at all. It'd be a waste of money. No.
Well, they're just making them pretty colours, aren't they? You know, the changes at Spa and stuff like that is obviously providing the paint that apparently provides grip that allows you to slow down rather than torpedoing yourself into the barrier when you come near at the top of go over Eau Rouge there. So, you know, safety changes we can handle, I think, partly because obviously safety's good. You know, we love motorsport, we hate to see any form of incidents, accidents, deaths or anything else that comes about with it. So safety changes I can understand. concept facial changes, don't touch them. Because that's what people love, and that's why they've been there for so many years and have... Oh! No, Mr. Patience.
Oh, wow.
And he's trying to get it back on track. The problem is, he's on the right-hand side there. Seth MacFarlane and Finko have gone through as well. So trying to rush that back on, spun the tyres back up and didn't get it back on track. And now, unfortunately for Patience, he's all the way down in 8th place, -3 on his grid spot. What I do want to pick up here as well is that Michael Brooks in 2nd place is slowly being closed down by Carson Keane here. He's pulling out temps at the moment on him as well. 1:16, so Michael Brooks 1:15.92, 1:15.91 for Keane as well. So they have been nip and tuck here, and it's slowly edging down. So this could be a nice little tidy battle as we get towards the end of this race as well. Don't forget, lap 14 of 36, 22 more to go. Quick maths, love it. And then we've got Seth MacFarlane and Lucas Finko here as well. And unfortunately for Mr. Patience, down in 8th place currently as well. Not an ideal, but it's an incident that we've all seen, Zach. It's an incident that everybody has done, and it's an incident that I'm sure we will see again.
Oh yeah, lock in the rear is going into the corkscrew. Obviously, we'll run a ball with Seth MacFarlane as he obviously talks us through in more detail. So ideally, you're looking to brake here, pretty much just before where that curb starts, exclusively in a straight line, right? There is no way about it. As Seth MacFarlane, well, does not show us how to do the corkscrew correctly. He does what we talk about, the weight distribution. As you dip down, the rear goes light, it lifts up, bada bing, bada boom, off you go, off you pop, sunshine. Seth MacFarlane back onto the circuit in 8th place. So Ian Patience back up in his 7th, but obviously not where he would want to be at all. But yeah, you want to brake exclusively in a straight line, not make any turns, because as soon as you turn, you're putting extra load on the tyres, the rears are more susceptible to locking up, and you're more susceptible to spinning. But we've all been there. You've broke just that little bit too late. You try, put your left foot down just that little bit more, hoping it's going to get you stopped. The rears lock, and around you go. And in Formula 3 cars like these, if the rears lock, there's not really much that you can do about coming back from it. Michael Brooks pushing the limits. He's now starting to feel the pressure of seeing the Canadian in his rearview mirrors. Yeah, I think Keane has been closing him down here and has got to be more and more careful. The problem is with this corner as well, not only does it dip downhill, you know, left to right, it's also got dips down on the entrance as well. And the problem is when you've got your front wheels up and your back wheels in that dip and you try and hit that accelerator, your back end's going round. If we try and tap the brake to try and stop it going round, it goes round further. So sometimes it really is a no-win situation for some of these guys, and they've got to just allow the car. If you're going to go in too hot, pray that you're going to make it out the other side, because trust me, it won't work if you try and brake or try and hit the accelerator. You've got to just kind of hold it in and hope it sticks, because otherwise that's what happened, as we've seen with Patience. You end up going round and it causes you an issue. But at the end of the day, you've got to nail it. You've got to hit your braking point. The problem is Zach, they're trying to brake over a hill hump. So as you go over, the front wheels are already over the hump, the back wheels are still up in the air. So it offsets the car in general. So they've got to be trying to get that right, where your front wheels are just approaching that hump and you just start hitting the brakes at that point. Because if you do it any later, you're going to off-balance it and it's all just going to go wrong. Because we're going to see it here. It needs to start braking now. Get it onto the brakes, get it stopped. You've got the dip there, and then you've got the dip on the other side. And that can catch you out, as well as dipping down a left-hander and a right-handed hill. Yeah, it's all about weight distribution, as I've said. Obviously, if you get too much on the front, you're going to lock up the front wheels. If you get too little on the front, you're going to have a lot of understeer. It's going to handle like a boat. Same goes for the rear. Too much on the rear, and you've got understeer at the front. It's too rear-based. Too little on the rear, i.e. when you're going down a hill, when you're braking downhill, anything like that, to ever so slightly just pitch the rear end up, you're reducing the contact patch of the tyres ever so slightly. We're talking, millimeters, if that, but it's enough to disrupt the equilibrium of grip and the coefficient of whatever it is, some fancy words that I'm sure the engineers will.
I swear, where are you coming out with these big old words here this evening? What dictionary you swallowed?
The Oxford one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Equilibrium and all sorts. So we've got it. We're spoiled.
I'm whipping out my GCSE science, mate.
The English grammar coming out in full force with Sweeney this evening.
I'm trying to make myself sound more intelligent than I am, James. This is fine. The thing is, my theory is, right, if I whack out clever words, I sound more clever, even if I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that how we look at it? Is it if we whack out big long words?
Yeah, if I was going to whip out some big words, but I don't.
So if I
don't
come
try
out
me at
with
Scrabble.
if I come out with all of a sudden Carson Keane is going into turn 11 and he's looking supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, does that make me more intelligent?
It just sounds like you need a spoonful of sugar to wake you up a bit, mate. Here we go, Carson Keane out of turn number 11. Let's hope he's taking a spoonful of sugar in order to propel his number 5 machine ahead. Michael Brooks on the defensive into the Andretti hairpin. There is space on the inside. Cut straight across the front nose of him. Oh my word. That was not supercalifragilistic. No, damn it! Absolutely no. Oh my words!
He didn't even get it right. He tried.
It wasn't good.
No.
I'm hiding. Right. See you next season. I'll need to take Silverstone off just to recover. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. There we go. Thank you. Right, I've done it.
Good. I'm proud of
done.
you. You know
right.
that, right?
In a bit. See you later.
Oh dear. There we go, Zach Sweeney getting all his words mixed up. We've got quite amusing here this evening as well. Oh, he's off! Oh no, Michael Brooks. One mistake, as we said, going into turn 6. Job done. Carson Keane goes through. And that was exactly what we were talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Easily done. And a big mistake to make for Michael Brooks. He's only about 1.8 seconds off at this stage, but with Carson Keane maybe being the quicker of the two drivers, you might well be able to predict that Keane might be able to stay in second place. Back to this fight though, Seth MacFarlane versus Lucas Finko. We might well be able to see a bit of a battle spawning here between the pair of them because, well, they're the closest two on circuit. Mackenzie Roon running away with things, 5 seconds clear of the rest of the field. Carson Keane ahead of Michael Brooks. Daniel Whitfield in a bit of a world of his own. Kiko, Patience and Co all sort of in their own world. So we've got a nice little pocket of battles going on here as we tick over the halfway mark. Lap 19 at 36. And now we're walking out of the woods. We've emptied half the glass and all those other analogies that you can try and think of. We're into the second half, and now it really is a sprint to the finish. We are probably going to predict a couple of these cars to come into the pit lane, if not all of them. I don't think we've gone a race where everyone's gone the full race without pitting. I think at some point they are going to need fuel. Probably going to need tyres as well. Laguna Seca does take a lot out of these tyres.
Yeah, it definitely does, but I'll be very surprised if they're not fueled up till the end.
I'm not entirely sure if the F3s can go what would be around about 50 minutes of racing. I am skeptical. I don't know if there's a reduced... there might well be a reduced fuel tank that prohibits them from going the full distance. I think at some point they will have to come in, put a splash in, 5-6 seconds max in the pit lane. Whether within those 5-6 seconds they are going to take tyres is another thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, there's nothing in the rules to say that they're going to be on limited amount of fuel. There we go, pit stops. One pit stop will be required through the race distance due to fuel demands. It's the driver's discretion to take tyres if they want to and how much fuel they fill up with. So they will have to make a pit stop due to the limitations on fuel. So that's always good because that will mix up everything all at the same time here. And they will have one fast repair if things have gone completely wrong. We have seen Boyd Payne into the pits. He's pitted already, so that's a good thing for them as well. And yeah, it could be interesting here to see how these pit stops mix it up, because at the end of the day, it's going to be very, very tasty. Fixed setup, Kiko's just said 30 minutes or so of fuel, so they do have to pit. It's a bargain. There we go, pit stops away.
Absolutely. So they'll be coming in within the next sort of 4 or 5 minutes or so to fill up to the end of the race. And speaking actually of that fix up, it's not really something we've touched on much over the course of the season. I think that's a really good thing to have as a championship. I mean, particularly if you want to be sort of beginner friendly and inclusive of everyone. It really does take away a lot of that grind of spending the hours and hours going around a circuit thinking, you know what, my caster could be 0.1 of a degree more forward, my toe camber and blah 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 could be a little bit more in to give me a little bit more grip, I might be able to turn my dampers down to ride the curbs a bit better, going out lap after lap, coming back in, adjusting, going back out, adjusting, making sure it's quick, making sure it's suited to you. That's something not everyone has a lot of time for. It's not something that everyone can do. More importantly, you know, try and put me into the iRacing setup world and I don't have a Scooby. I know what each thing relatively does as Lucas Finco does kick off the pit lane sequence. I know what each thing does, but oh my word, it's just so overwhelming to sort of get your head around what each thing does, what each thing is then going to be able to have the knock-on effect of doing, and then training it. That fixed setup really does allow people to feel like they can just jump into the car, get comfortable, and compete.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Most of us haven't got time, right? You know what I mean? It's like me trying to drive. Pointless. I haven't got time. Don't drive. It's just, there's no time in my day at all to allow me to jump on and do any racing. At the end of the day, the last thing I want to be messing around with is a setup for a series. At the end of the day, you want to just be able to get in the car and go. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people have got access to majors and all these other fancy setup shops that they can get access to and all that sort of stuff, and they can download them. And I'm not going to lie, I do have downloaded setups for certain cars and certain tracks through to obviously be doing other events, right? That's fair enough. It was open setup. It was an endurance event. I've got setups available. But at the end of the day, most people haven't got that time. They haven't got that time to sit and mess around with dampers. They mess around with this. They might move the brake bias forward, which is what they can be able to, limitations of what they're able to do on a fixed setup. But they haven't got time to mess around with everything else. You know, there's so many little tweaks. When you open up a garage on iRacing and you see everything in front of you, you know, you're just going to sit back and think, what am I even looking at here? If you're not savvy-minded, if you're not anything that's capable of or mechanically minded in a car, you are just literally staring at gobbledygook. It's just pointless, you know. So I think a fixed setup is always good to go when you're going into a new series and when you've provided a driver-friendly series.
Absolutely. I will tell you what though, sim racing setups has had a good positive effect on me in the real world, as Carson Keane does coming to the real world, into the pit lane, and his real world experience is going to be helping him with this, because obviously he's going to know these setups better than anyone with a PhD there next to his name. Carson Keane, the good old doctor there, pulling his way into the pit lane. But yeah, one real world application that has really helped me in, or sim racing has helped me in, was college. Was when we come to learn about wheel geometry and things. I was like, I know what toe and camber and caster is because I did it in sim racing. So yeah, there we go. If you do a light vehicle maintenance qualification, you'll be great at it if you come from the sim racing world. Carl Matheson now running his way around the circuit. He is, just shy, inside the top 10, about 10 seconds off Dominic Angelichio. So he's not really had the strongest of races as of yet, but still positive signs maybe going forward. Carson Keane has come out of the pit lane inside the top 5, but just shy of 3 seconds off Model East Kiko, who is still yet to owe us a pit stop in the pit lane. 3 seconds. Carson Keane got a good bit of clean air here just to settle into this race, maybe take some time at Mackenzie Roon, albeit I doubt it considering the gap that they had.
Yeah, look at it. Mackenzie Roon is basically 8 seconds currently out in front, right? Michael Brooks is now into the pits as well. He's going to be wanting to hang on here from Daniel Whitfield, so this could be easier as well. And let's see how he gets on. Kiko there is looking at trying to get up past him at the same time. Unfortunately, coming around turn 10 at the moment, on turn 11. And Brooks is now started making his way out here. So Whitfield's going to go through. As Brooks, actually, he's only just stopped. So that was quite bizarre because he's been in the pits for quite a while. And then Kiko's coming through. Brooks is going to be on the left-hand side. Kiko's going to clean him. Is Carson Keane going to get through? There he is coming over the top of the hill. Brooks is just coming down there. You can see him on the run down into turn 1 here, Zach.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's going to come out on top? I think it might well be Michael Brooks ahead of Carson Keane. Obviously, going that little bit longer on fuel means his pit stop was ever so slightly shorter in terms of the fuel time. Indeed, it was. It was a 5-second stationary time compared to a 7.5 second time stationary. So Michael Brooks able to make amends for that mistake. What that does tell me is Carson Keane slightly quicker on circuit. Michael Brooks a little bit better in the pit lane. I think we've got a race here for second. Yeah,
I think they have as well here. On lap 24, 12 laps to go, and it is Keane with Whitfield chasing him down. Roon is in the pits. Again, we don't expect it to be a very long stop. It's literally a quick splash and dash. Stop, splash, and he wants to get on his bike because at the moment, Kiko is coming round here and is going to close some of that distance down. I've got a funny feeling he might even jump. There is Roon coming out now, so that's always good. Heading out of the pits. Kiko has cleared Whitfield. And Rune is on pit exit, so still in first place. Kiko second, Brooks in third, Keane in fourth there. So the best one out of all of them for them, and at the moment is Kiko, but obviously they've not stopped.
No, Kiko has not come into the pit lane as of yet. I think she'll probably settle in, I'd say 5th place, maybe. Yeah, I'd want to say 5th place, just ahead of Daniel Whitfield. So sort of in her own little world, own little bubble in this race. But look out for Michael Brooks versus Carson Keane, trying to put his brain to good use and trying to find a way through on Michael Brooks as it stands there. Obviously, we'll wait for their first comparable lap time. We're waiting for Michael Brooks to set a competitive lap time after coming out of the pit lane, which, talking of the pit lane here, by the way, at Laguna Seca, going in, it's not so bad. You've got a little bit of a left-hander that's quite tight. Coming out, though, is where it's at. Downhill braking, you've been flat out for some time, and the pit lane exit is incredibly narrow. It's like taking the actual circuit itself just half the width. Yeah,
absolutely. As well as Kiko now heads into the pits, going to start losing positions, really wants to try and stay in front of Whitfield. Whitfield was about 11 seconds back at the moment there as well, so it's going to be tight. If Kiko can get that car stopped and out, might just hang on, but it's no, I think Whitfield's going to get it. Stopped. Yeah, Whitfield's going to go through. So it will be Whitfield back into 4th place. Keane is still chasing down Brooks in 3rd and 2nd. And yeah, it's looking like it could be a spicy one here, with Boy Payne just down at the back end of the field as well. Cleaning Angelico here as well. Is he going to clear him? Yes, he does. Clears Angelico and is now up into 10th place. Of course, Payne making that accident on well, having a misfortune off track, should we say, Zach, on that one.
Yeah, it's a very eloquent way to put it, actually. Yeah.
Well, you know, we've got to be nice. Got to be nice.
Do we? No, I'm joking.
Can't really say he made an oopsie daisy.
He made an oopsie daisy. I do like that one.
Well, you know.
I don't know. It's nice. It's better than saying he's made a complete fool of himself. Oh my word, that's kind of fine with a bit of lap traffic. Michael Brooks ahead of Carson Keane, and now I think actually quite importantly got a bit of lap traffic between them. That's Carl Matheson. Obviously I know your opinions on lap cars and them moving out of the way for people and stuff, but well, how eager is he going to be in letting Keane through? How eager is Keane going to be on getting through? Well, easily done, just down the straight. Yeah. No real effect there. But when it comes to lapping things, and if you don't have a cooperative back marker in the same car, it can lose you so much time if they're well off the pace. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the problem. When my rules of blue flags come into effect and I start communicating about them, people don't always like what I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, you know, Matheson did well. He got out of turn 11, which was fine. He moved over. He didn't run him down into the Andretti hairpin beside him. He gave him room, lifted off and allowed him through. At the end of the day, if Keane's quicker, if Brooks is quicker, what are you going to benefit from trying to run these guys down into the hairpin? Nothing. The only thing you're going to benefit from is a very upset driver in 2nd and 3rd place who's going to be shouting at you after the race. So, you know, they've got to be sensible with this, and they've got to be looking at trying to get out of the way as quickly as possible, because Keane is closing on Brooks and he's having a good old go. He is indeed. The gap under a second, and almost actually under half a second as they run their way in towards turn 11. Bit of a slide there from Michael Brooks. I think getting over the AstroTurf, that is going to hamper his run. You can see he's feeling the pressure, weaving around like a snake, trying to break the toe back to Carson Keane, who's not going to quite be close enough into the first braking zone downhill and towards the Andretti hairpin. But definitely getting closer, and that defensive move there shows that Michael Brooks is aware that Keane is close. He's got to be. He's got to be defensive. If he wants to hang on, he's got to be looking at trying to take the inside where he's allowed to. He's got to be looking at trying to close the door, not make any silly moves. Like now, go to the left, because Keane can make a move up the inside of him here going round turn 5. So he's got to be placing that car in a position where he isn't going to get himself in trouble. And that is what Brooks is going to do. Can he hang on with Keane behind him for another, 8 laps here, Zach? Well, I mean, it's doable, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we'll wait and see. I think on that one, how hard Brooks can defend. The pressure is going to be incredible. I would much rather be in Keane's position than Brooks is right now. One, you might be saying, well, Brooks is ahead, so you'd rather be in second, wouldn't you? No, I wouldn't. I think Keane has very much got the upper hand here in terms of that mental stance. Brooks is feeling the pressure. He's already made the mistake this time. The first time they came to blows, weaving around, trying to break the slipstream. Borderline unacceptable. Carson Keane looking to the left-hand side. He's late on the brakes. He's not quite late enough. Covers off the inside. There's contact. And Keane is sent pirouetting round. A slight little tap to the rear end. And the Canadian is sent through. And I take back what I said. I would rather be in Michael Brooks' situation at the moment. Yeah, it was optimistic from Keane. I don't really think Brooks did much wrong there.
Two issues led to that, right? First off was the weaving down the straight, right? In hindsight, you want to try and make one move and have done with it. That's it. You know, you don't want to weave that much. You can almost knit a jumper on the way down. You're going across backwards and forwards. But one of the other things here as well is Brooke took quite a wide line going into that turn one, and Keane didn't know whether or not he's going to have that door left open for him. He's going to be sitting in that car and he's not entirely sure what the situation was or what it would be there. As you can see, Angelicchio just go off track at the same time. Boyd Payne is having a nice little battle down here with Matheson, currently in 9th and 10th place. But that was the problem. The door was half open, left open, so Keane's kind of gone in a little bit, thinking if he leaves it open, I'm going to take it. And then, of course, Brooks said, no, sorry, son, I'm shutting the door. And that's where the problem lied with it. And that's why we talk about so many different areas of driving of what you can, can't, should, shouldn't do. Matheson, and Payne. Both of them making mistakes in the corkscrew there as well. And Payne loses out to Matheson there, but that's very unusual. Both of them making mistakes at exactly the same time there, Zach.
Yeah, well, again, it's the trickiest corner on the circuit. They both put each other under a bit of pressure, so it makes sense. And obviously, once you see someone make a mistake, you look back in the mirror, you either laugh at them or you're like, oh well, let's not make that same mistake. And then before you know it, boom, you've made a similar mistake. But fortunately, it's not sort of diffused the battle too much. We've still got Carl Matheson and Boyd Payne still fighting over at 9th place. A bit of a lock-up, though, from the 22 machine, which is going to show how difficult this circuit is. And another mistake there from Matheson, allowing Boyd Payne to reclose the gap. Well, it's not for the leads. A battle's a battle. And for these guys, obviously, over the course of the season, they've not really been in contention for podiums or wins so much. So for them, a race is a race and a position's a position.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. The problem is obviously Matheson benefiting from the fact that Payne come out and made the mistake out of corkscrew, had the opportunity to start moving up the road here, didn't really get on. Yeah, that's going to put bow to that. So Matheson's got now a good 2-3 seconds, as long as he can bury it coming out the corkscrew and keep it clean there. Unfortunately for Boyd Payne, onto that gravel. That's twice now for Payne he's been out there, Zach, and twice. That probably more. It's probably one time too many, should we say?
Yeah, I think that today has not been the best to date for Boyd Payne, and he's going to swap the I for an I and then drop the E, and it is going to be Boyd Payne, spelled P-A-I-N. That's funny, right? No, it's not. Anyway, we've been trying to fit in. Drop the Y, swap it for an I, and then drop the E. Pain. He's going to be in a lot of pain. Funny, right?
Right, okay.
Me and
apologies for that one, everyone.
Yeah, sorry, that's not my best work. I'm working on it. No. Throughout the season so far, we've been trying to make puns of everyone's name, and we've been trying to find a way to fit it in. I mean, you've got Seth MacFarlane, obviously, Family Guy, sorted. Patience, being patient. Kiko, sort of a key kind of joke in there. Keen, obviously. Yeah, we've been trying to fit it in. I thought that was a good opportunity. It didn't come out right. Similar to my supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Which you had to say very slowly in about 5 syllables, just in case you got it completely wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly
I'm just checking that's what I listen to, because I'm old and me ears and all that, and I just wanted to make sure.
You got your hearing aid in? Is it turned up? Yeah,
I've got both of them, and it's fine this evening.
Nice,
you know
awesome.
what I mean? But I can hear you clearly. So I've heard
taking
all
your
your
meds
mistakes.
as well? Or?
No, I'm all gravy on that one. I'm all gravy. But I've heard, I can hear the many mistakes. So we'll be all right. I feel I'm coming out on top on this one, considering Boyd Payne is going to go away and feel the pain this evening watching this back, I'll tell you that much.
So you made the same one? Right, anyway.
Yeah, but I didn't start going in to drop the I at the end. And what are you talking about?
Because it's not pain, is it? It's like, whatever. Anyway. regardless of which, yeah, I think I'll just stop before I dig myself even deeper into
these young
To be fair,
whippersnappers.
you could probably dig some good sandcastles around the edges of Laguna Seca. I'll be honest. There's probably some good opportunities to.
It is, and Payne is out there, and he's been out there already with his bucket and spade.
He can tell us. He's dug himself some holes with them rear tyres.
Yeah, he's done a great job. Angelicchio down here is doing exactly the same thing here, having a bit of a rough time of old Laguna. But one man who's not is Mr. Mackenzie Roon, Zach. 16 seconds, and if I'm not mistaken, if he goes and finishes this off, it will be his first win of the season.
It will be. So far this season, we have only had 3 drivers take the win. It was only because last week at Zandvoort, Shane Larson was able to take his first race victory. Before that, the first 5 rounds were taken exclusively by Carson Keane and Alexander Rivera, who we haven't seen for the last couple of weeks. He was incredibly quick throughout the season, and it'd be nice to have him back for Silverstone just for one last hurrah of the season. But yeah, it would mean that we would have had 4 different winners if Mackenzie Roon is able to take it to the checkered flag, which is great for competitiveness and stuff. It means that people can win throughout the field and things, and we have boasted a very, very successful and competitive field throughout the duration of this season. And I have to say, it has gone really quick. 8 weeks, roughly 2 months on Saturday since we started the championship, and it does not feel like that long ago. 8 weeks have gone very, very quick, and it's been a mega season. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the championship concludes. And then obviously, fingers crossed, good stuff for next season as well, which we have been tipped. Brian has sort of been dropping the seeds that next season is going to be even bigger and better.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting. I want to pick up on what Kiko said in YouTube chat. I've got to be honest. Racing commentary just wouldn't be the same with the attempted bits that meander into a confused metaphor and then bringing that back later with conviction and hope it lands. So there we go.
We just shouldn't be comedians at all.
The problem is, I think the main point of that is you can make the attempt, and if it doesn't stick, leave it alone and move on. Don't
come back to it.
If
you don't get a laugh the first time, you're not getting one the second time. No. It's like when people repeat their jokes louder. It's like, mate, we heard you the first time, we just don't care. As, oh wow, this is Whitfield getting himself onto the podium potentially. Michael Brooks is having a good old fight with him. He's able to stay in front. Whitfield has got up onto the back of Brooks incredibly quick.
Brooks went
and
off.
That means, yeah, he must have done.
Yeah,
because Keane's back up in a second. He's lost, about 14 seconds or so back to Whitfield. Well, I mean, it's not the fight that I was expecting Brooks to be involved in, but it's a fight nonetheless, and it's a fight that Whitfield is going to want to win to get himself on the podium.
Yeah, he definitely is as well. Brooks went off track there and made a mistake, unfortunately, and that's allowed Whitfield to get onto the back as we've got the gap now of about nearly... is it going to? Yes, it does. Hutch is half a second here as well. We've got this one and one more as well. Patience is in chat. This is why I love racing commentary. It's 2 guys having a chat until something happens. Well, pretty much.
And then it's like, shut up, stop talking about cotton candy, and we're focusing on the racing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that's what commentary is. I don't think people fully understand it there. We bring you the action, and then we have a waffle in the middle. As you can see, I think Whitfield has just not got the pace to keep up with Brooks, and as he's just shown there as well, he's just made a mistake, and that unfortunately put ends to that one on the penultimate lap here as well. So unfortunately there, that is Whitfield's challenge on Michael Brooks going to be done and dusted. However, this man is going to come round and look at taking the final lap of the race here, young Zachary, and it's going to be an interesting one, and he's one that he has and dominated completely.
Yeah, no pressure for Mackenzie Roon on this final lap. It's only your first win of the season, and well, he's led it pretty much from start to finish. He nailed the initial moments of this race. He's nailed every moment since, been under absolutely zero pressure, consistent and fast, the perfect blend of success here at Laguna Seca. He's gone through turns 1 and 2, now into 3. He's only got 8 more corners left to go, and he's going to tick them down one by one, and well, he's going to be very ecstatic to see that checkered flag sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it definitely is as well. It's incredible job that he has done here this evening, and it looks like he's absolutely flown it. I've not seen one off track from him, won anything currently at the moment as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if he could be possibly the only man that hasn't actually had an off track count. And I've got 0 on the board for him. So currently at the moment, Mackenzie Roon, not only did he win by 20 seconds, not only is he going to win his first ever race here, he's going to do it clean as a whistle here, young Zachary, and he's going to take it in first place.
A clean slate. He was able to take pole position by less than a tenth of a second, it must be said. 92 thousandths back to Carson Keane, who joined him on the front row. but there has been no stopping Mackenzie Roon, who's got one more corner left to go. Then it's a drag race all the way to the checkered flag, which the 99 machine is going to see first. For the first time this season, Mackenzie Roon is victorious for the Sim Racing for Simpletons Formula 3 Championship. He's done it at the penultimate round here in Laguna Seca. Probably one of the most tricky tracks that he could have done it at. Carson Keane and Michael Brooks will join him on the podium. We'll focus on back to Carl Matheson, who might have a slim chance of getting past Boyd Payne on this final lap, but it's been a good race for many.
Yeah, it has as well. That gap had closed right in currently at the moment. Seth MacFarlane's made another mistake, and Lucas Finko has gone and through as well. So Seth MacFarlane there coming out of turn, where was he? He was turn 10, made a mistake, spun the back end of the car up as well, unfortunately. Lucas Finko there as well. Boyd Payne is further back from that as well. Kiko comes across the line, job done. Well done, finished off, a stellar job from them, and obviously Patience is going to be kicking himself, obviously after making a couple of mistakes throughout the race as well, which has probably cost him at least a good couple of positions there, unfortunately, for Mr. Ian Patience. So a tough one for him to swallow as he comes over the line in 6th place, but Boyd Payne and Carl Matheson still scrapping it out further down, are a little bit more spread out than they were a few minutes ago in as well. So it is going to be Payne across the line.
It will be indeed, and it's going to be a sight for sore eyes, I think, for Boyd Payne. I won't say it, who crossed the line and, well, is going to be very relieved to have seen that checkered flag. Same too maybe with Carl Matheson as well. People have been in the wars here at Laguna Seca, and you can't blame him. It is, I'm trying to think of a more difficult North American circuit, I'll be honest. Listening through, no, none of them really rival to Laguna Seca as much, but 36 laps of racing action in the books, and Mackenzie Roon victorious at Laguna Seca. Carson Keane and Daniel Whitfield able to secure the podium places as well, with Model-E's Kiko just having a nice quiet race, finishing 4th. In Patience, the top 5, with Michael Brooks a very, very late descend all the way down to 6th place. Lucas Finko, Seth MacFarlane, Boyd Payne and Carl Matheson the top 10, with Dominic Angelicchio, well, didn't really see him at all at this race, down in P11 and last of everyone that finished. No DNFs today, which is quite nice, but a successful day in the office, I think, indeed. And, well, the excitement's all looking towards Silverstone.
Yeah, it definitely is now. That's it. We've got one more round to go here currently at the moment. I will bring you up the standings after these points have been added. So this is the current championship standing state. Carson Keane is out in front on 149 points, there, Zach. So it's very close.
It is indeed not much in it at all, and all to play for going into Silverstone. Also, Mackenzie Roon and Michael Brooks, and also Daniel Whitfield and Kiko, all within the same 10 points, 29 down to 21. That is insane, and that fight for second place in the championship, I think, is going to be very good. Carson Keane might just have to secure a good result, but if things go wrong, we might well see a different champion crowned come, well, about this time on Saturday. Well, it will be around this time on Saturday. Join us on the JP Broadcasting YouTube network then in a few days' time for one final hurrah, 25 laps around Silverstone. James, I am really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be interesting as well. You can see Carson Roon is 19, Mackenzie Roon, sorry, I'm creating love children there. Mackenzie Roon is 19 points back and is 26 points up for grabs, with the 1 for qualifying and the 25 for a win. So technically he still can win, but Carson Keane does mean that he's got to take all 26, and Carson Keane has got to be right down the order, 10 plus, I think I worked it out as earlier on as well, for him to be able to take it and not to give Keane not enough points overall as well. So it's going to be a very interesting season finale, and it's going to be exciting here as well. You can see the 2, 3, 4 and 5 all close together as well, Zach. So it's really anybody's for the win from Carson Keane and Mackenzie Roon, and it's anybody's from Roon, Brooks, Whitfield and Kiko for second place going into the final race.
Well, it's going to be a finale to remember then, ladies and gentlemen. But unfortunately, that is going to wrap up our coverage for the Sim Racing for Simpletons Formula 3 Championship. Round 7, at least. Unfortunately, we've only got a few more days to wait. Join us on Saturday for the finale. We take to Silverstone, a circuit that is the centre point of British motorsport. It's been myself, Zach Sweeney, James Parfitt, alongside me in the commentary booth. Join us for one final time for this championship. What a way to kick things off for the Sim Racing for Simpletons, and what a way to look forward into the next season as well. Thank you so much to everyone watching along at home. It's been a pleasure to entertain you in the YouTube chat. Make sure you are like, subscribe, and turn the bell on for notifications to not miss a thing that comes out of James Parfitt Broadcasting, because we've got absolutely everything. There's always something to tickle your fancy, even if it's not something you're usually familiar with. You will find a home here. And well, if you're into some Formula 3, we've got one final round, and I physically cannot wait for it. I'm itching to get back into things because the championship is still yet to be decided. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, take care and a very warm goodbye.